Good morning, Campbell McCrary, Amvest Capital, New York City. Welcome to the Amvest Capital Inc. live webinar with Southern Silver Exploration. Southern trades on the venture as SSV and on the OTCQX as SSVFF. Hope you'll enjoy today's program. It will be available in replay mode about an hour after we wrap up. You can easily get a copy at amvestcapital.com/webinars. We'll be queuing you for feedback, and you can just fill in the form when you log out or click on the feedback button in the email. Of course, Amvest is a New York-based investment management and corporate finance firm based on focused solely on the natural resource sector. And our very important disclaimer, please read carefully. This call is absolutely for informational purposes only. We're pleased today to have with us two members of the team. We have Larry Page, the president and director, and Rob McDonald, VP of exploration. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Larry and Rob. So if you could turn on your webcams and unmute yourselves, and we'll dive in and share your presentation, Rob.
All right, I think I hit the right button. Can you hear me okay, Campbell?
Yes, I can. We have full audio visual.
So far, so good. Thanks everybody for attending, and I'm speaking to you from Vancouver, where we would like to present the Southern Silver Exploration company, which is exploring in Mexico and New Mexico. Just by way of background, Southern Silver is one of 5 companies that's managed out of Vancouver by the Mannix Resource Group. And it would be interesting just to give you a little bit of background on Mannix. The 5 companies that we provide services to are exploring in the west coast of North America. So we've got drills turning in Mexico, soon to be in New Mexico, in Nevada, in British Columbia. The reason to have them all housed under one umbrella is simply for ease of providing all the services that juniors need on a cost-efficient basis. And it's worked for us over the years. Our last big win about 11 years ago was the Western Silver, which was a penny dreadful. It had a property in Zacatecas, Mexico. Took it to the stage of a pre-feasibility study, silver primarily, and the company was taken out by Glamis Gold, which was then taken out by Goldcorp, and the shareholders had a $1.2 billion payday. So that's the way of transition of developing a junior through to a stage where it has such value that a senior wants to take it over and put up the CapEx and OpEx and mine it. We wanted to emulate that success about 10, 11 years ago. We took a junior, the Southern Silver Company, put competent people in charge of it, used the human resources that we had in Mexico to find a property that had merit. I think we've done all that. We're in the right jurisdiction. We're in the right metals. And we bought it property for $4 million over time. So we now own it 100%. If you followed our company last year, you would have seen that we were 40% working interest operator, and the excuse me, the Electrum Group out of New York and Denver were a 60% working interest. That was simply because at that stage it was difficult to raise money. Electrum was a shareholder. They now own about 22% of our company, soon to be a little bit less when we completed a financing, which I'll tell you about in a moment. And it became apparent about this time last year that we weren't able to move the company forward or the property forward as quickly as we wanted to. They had a longer term view, and as juniors, we wanted to explore and see what we had. We have a resource on the property as of 2019. Rob will tell you that. And we purchased Electrum's interest for $15 million US. The last payment is to be made on September the 15th, and we're well funded to do that. It's $4 million payable, half in cash and half in shares on a 20-day VWAP. So we're now masters of our own destiny, and we're developing the property well. We're well on our way to a new resource. We have another property in New Mexico. It's predominantly a copper project, and we were getting no value for that. So when our financial fortunes increased a little bit, we decided that we would drill it for our own account. We got about $3 million into the project. We're just completing the permitting process. When the rains dissipate after the monsoon in late August, we'll have a drill turning, all things being equal, in September. So having set the background here, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Rob, who can tell you the exploration program, what we did to get to where we are and where we're going, and then I'll be very happy to respond to any questions you may have. So, Rob, would you mind taking over from here?
Okay, thank you very much, Larry. And thank you all for joining us in the presentation. I'll be featuring Southern Silver Exploration and our flagship project, primarily our flagship project, the Cerro Las Minitas project in Durango, Mexico. I will be issuing forward-looking statements. I'm a geologist. That's actually part of my job. And so with Southern Silver, we will be featuring Cerro Las Minitas. It's a silver lead zinc project located in Durango, Mexico. It's one of the largest and highest grade undeveloped silver-based projects in the world, with indicated and inferred resources of 272 million silver equivalent ounces at an average grade of 354 grams per ton silver equivalent. The project is located in a well-established silver mining district in Durango, Mexico, and we're surrounded by producing companies. We have recently acquired our former JV partners' 60% interest in the project for $15 million in cash and shares. We now have 100% control of the project. We are fully financed and well placed to advance the project and for further success. We're in the midst of a 20,000 meter drill program on the property, which was started in August 2020. We've identified high-grade mineral intercepts in that drilling, and we have a plan to increase the size of the deposit by 30%. We are looking forward to a resource update in August 2021. And then that and other engineering work that we have completed on the project will roll into a preliminary economic assessment late in 2021 or maybe first quarter 2022. So since we have announced the deal with our former JV partner, we have been one of the better performing silver-based stocks on the exchange. You can see that we made that announcement in late June. We've seen a significant increase in our trading volume, significant increase in our share price, and we've stabilized in that 45 to 55 cent range, and have been holding steady for the last part of 2020 and now well into 2021. We've covered a bit of the transaction, but the other main point to take away from that is that at the $15 million cash price, that we paid for the for 60% works out to be around 9 cents an ounce silver equivalent. This gives us 100% control of the deposit. It enhances the market profile of the company. We've increased our market capitalization, and we've become a much more attractive takeover target at this point. Southern Silver is a member of the Manex group of companies, which is a private company owned by Larry that operates the backroom services for junior explorers based out of Vancouver. When I first joined the Manex group back in 2003, one of the companies, Western Silver, was doing very, very well. And when I joined, they were trading at around 64 cents. Within 4 years, the company had been sold for $35 a share, initially to Glamis Gold, and which then was taken over by Goldcorp. So this is the sort of progression that we envisage with our Southern Silver project. Right now, we have an initial resource. We have new discoveries through our current drilling program that we started in September 2020, and we're working towards the initial economic studies on the project. So we see a pathway of continued discovery, economics, and then continuing to de-risk the project as we progress, and then possible acquisition later that may result in a sharp increase in the share price. Again, just a reminder, Cerro Las Minitas is one of the largest and highest grade undeveloped silver-based projects in the world, with indicated and inferred resources totaling 272 million silver equivalent ounces. So we've started exploring the project again in September 2020, and since then we've been able to announce high-grade mineral resources. Oops, there we go. High-grade mineral intercepts. A reminder that the average grade of the known deposits right now is 354 grams per ton silver equivalent. And so we're seeing a number of highlights here that well exceed that grade. So we're very, very happy that we're intersecting very high grade mineralization. And not only that, but we see higher silver grades within this mineralization. The silver is associated with elevated lead, and that's important as well, as our lead concentrate is the highest paying concentrate that we're able to develop from this deposit or produce from this deposit, meaning that with the higher lead and silver grades, that we're creating more value in the project as we continue exploring and developing the new target areas. So within Southern Silver, we have two projects. In southern New Mexico, we have the Oro project. It's an earlier stage copper, moly, gold porphyry system on the eastern extension of the Arizona Copper Belt. It's 100% owned. It's accessible by road. We're in the permitting stage right now and planning to drill this in the September timeframe of 2021. The flagship of the property, of the company, is the Cerro Las Minitas project located in Durango, Mexico. Cerro Las Minitas sits in the heart of the Faja de Plata, or the Belt of Silver of north central Mexico. It's now 100% owned, and since acquisition in 2011, we have spent over $27 million in acquisition and development on the project. We are in the midst of a 20,000 meter drill program, and we're looking towards our next resource milestone on the order of 350 million silver equivalent ounces. We continue to advance the engineering and metallurgical work on the project, and we're working towards a PEA. This is in late 2021, maybe early 2022. The project is located in an active exploration and development area with superior infrastructure and community support. We're in a safe jurisdiction. We're not in the mountains. We're out on the edge of the Altiplano, or the interior plateau of northern Mexico. So we're not around the narcos, and it's a very safe area to be working in. We have our exploration and our environmental permits in place. We have social initiatives with the local ejido all in place, and our social license agreements. And we've now completed over 70,000 meters of drilling on the project since 2011. Our cash discovery cost is only 9 cents an ounce. And currently we are being valued at and around 40 in excess of 40 cents an ounce right now. So we see exploration as an excellent way to increase shareholder value and increase the asset value of the company. So Cerro Las Minitas, it's here highlighted in yellow, is a large property package located on the edge of the Alto Plano in northern Mexico. It's located in Durango, just 70 kilometers away from the city of Durango. It's a large property package at 345 square kilometers, and we're surrounded by producers, and we have lots of access and infrastructure running right through the property. On our eastern boundary is Hecla Mining's San Sebastian project, which for the last 3-4 years has been their most profitable mine. On our northern boundary, Fresnillo is exploring their El Titanic claim. Avino is mining gold and silver veins at their mine, just located 6 kilometers to the northwest of our property package. And Core Mining's La Preciosa project is located 25 kilometers to the west. We have highways running right through the property, and our base of operations is the town of Guadalupe, Victoria, located just 8-minute drive from the area of the Cerro. That's this area here, where we host the mineralization and our mineral deposits. This is Cerro Las Minitas. You can see in the foreground the divided highway that runs right through the project. We're only about 500 meters away from that highway. One of the local agriculture, the local bean fields in the foreground as well. Access to the property here on the left via this overpass. And so this is the Cerro. It's horseshoe-shaped zone of alteration that surrounds a central intrusion that acts as the heat pump from the system. We've located 4 mineral deposits on the western side. We're now exploring on the eastern side, about 1 kilometer away from the previously known deposits. So everything that we're exploring right now is new mineralization that can be accretive to the mineral deposits that we've already identified on the western side of the deposit. You can see the evidence of artisanal workings here on the Cerro, and these are smaller local peoples that have been working the projects and the properties for the last dozen or not dozen, about 50 or 60 years. These areas have been consolidated into one project that we acquired back in 2011, and we continue to advance the project now. This is a schematic cross-section through the Cerro. So the Cerro would be sitting up in here. There's a central intrusion, and on the margin of the central intrusion is a zone of skarn alteration. The skarn front deposit, which makes up the largest deposit that we've identified to date, sits in the skarn altered halo of the central intrusion. We've also identified 3 other smaller deposits that are associated with a dike swarm that forms off the western side of the Cerro and the central intrusion. Historic mining has been happening around the intrusive neck, and there is development in those areas that extends down up to 200 meters below surface. These are classic carbonate replacement or skarn systems that occur throughout the Faja Plata of northern Mexico, and actually throughout Mexico itself. The deposit is similar to Grupo Mexico's San Martin deposit, located 120 kilometers to the south. First Majestic's La Paria project, located 80 kilometers to the south. And Peñoles Velardeña district, located just 80 kilometers up the highway that you saw in one of the previous graphics. So what we have here is a central intrusion, acts as the heat pump for the mineralizing system. Historic mines are located on the edge, and that we have our mineralization located in the altered halos around the main intrusion and the dike swarms. This is a review of our most recent resource estimate as of May 19th, 2019, relatively high-grade cutoff, relatively high-grade mineralization averaging 354 grams per ton silver equivalent. The indicated and the inferred ounces sum to 272 million silver equivalent ounces, and that breaks out into 83 million silver ounces and 2.2 billion pounds of combined lead zinc. We continue to expand these mineral resources, and our next resource milestone, our target of growing the resource by 30%, should increase the silver-only content of the deposits upwards of 100 million silver ounces. So in terms of our exploration, this is a plan map of the resource area, what I call the area of the Cerro. Here's the central intrusion. In green is the zone of alteration around the central intrusion. The little half-filled squares are the historic artisanal adits and shafts that dot the neck of the intrusion. And then off on the side here, and it's outlined in red and highlighted in yellow, is a projection of the mineral deposits that we've identified to date, the surface projection of those deposits. They are underground, and this would be an underground mine. And so as you can see, all of our mineral resources are on the west side of the Cerro. We're now currently exploring on the east side of the Cerro and have completed over 17,000 meters to date of what was initially a 20,000 meter program. We may just exceed that as we have a little bit more drilling to do and maybe end up doing 22,000, 23,000 meters of further drilling on the project. So I'm going to highlight two exploration areas where we've had some great success to date. The first being the Mina La Bacona target. That's this area, this large density of holes and drilling in here. And then the second area being the South Skarn target. So at Mina La Bacona, here's the, we're actually drilling underneath some historic workings and an historic head frame. And so in this regard, we're following the old adage, if you want to find more, drill under a head frame. And so here's the historic workings extending down around 200 meters. And then we've identified two high-grade clusters of mineralization, one in this area and one in this area. And these are highlighted by some locally thick zones of mineralization, like hole 125, and some good, again, robust thicknesses of high-grade mineralization in the other zone, the Bacona chimney, like 8 meters of over 2,040 grams per ton silver equivalent. That's this hole here with up dip 500 grams per ton silver equivalent, down dip 461 grams per ton silver equivalent. So we've identified some very good high-grade clusters of mineralization, as well as some broader zones of mineralization that we can all work into mineral resources. We've started, drilling in earnest, at that 200 meter below surface, thick zones of mineralization between 200 and 300 meters below surface. And now we're extending mineralization to depth, maybe 450 meters below surface in areas where we previously drilled in 2010 and 2015 with some of these earlier holes. So at the end of the day, we anticipate being able to have 200 to 250 to 300 meters down dip mineralization, over 200 meter strike length, with the potential to add more in the Huazash chimney over here on the western side of the Mina La Bacona area. We've also identified some broad oxidized zones that are carrying good gold and silver mineralization. These intercepts are near surface, some of them quite thick, others a little bit thinner but higher grade. And so we continue to drill out these areas, looking to develop potential oxide resources that may be developed via a small open pit or literally an open trench that can add early value to a future mining scenario. In the South Skarn target, similarly, we've identified a zone that's around 300 meter strike length, 400 meters down dip. It's being carried by high-grade intercepts in hole 119 and 124. But there are also a number of good thick zones of mineralization throughout the entire area. We continue to drill this area. You can see these holes here are holes that we've completed, but we have assays pending. So there's more news to follow. So we have some good pending results on the margins of this area, and we continue to build it out and now do some shallow testing up in this area to see if we can extend the sulfide mineralization closer to surface. So other work that we've completed on the project, and metallurgical work and engineering work, with the idea of building all of this into an economic assessment of the project due toward the end of 2021, beginning of 2022. We've have excellent metallurgical results with over 90% recovery, nearly 95% zinc recovery, over 80% lead recovery, and 60% copper recovery. We've developed those into what's called a net smelter return model. And so what this does is it shows the value of the mineralization within the standard block model that's used to show the amount of mineral or the amount of metals in the resource. We've now developed what's called a stope model over the project. So this is all the mine design work. So stope model, production scenarios, and mine scheduling. This is, a representation of what that looks like on the western deposits, with this area being the Skarn Front deposit, this area up here being the Blind and the El Sol deposits, and then a little hanging wall zone in here, which is the Las Victorias deposit. So we've done all of that work for the western side. We're continuing to drill over on the eastern side, over on this area, and we are going to, again, do all of that for the eastern side and build it all into a single mine plan and get an economic assessment for that mine plan toward the end of the year, early next year. So on to the Oro property. I'll cover this one briefly. It's located just 50 miles south of the town of Lordsburg, New Mexico, just off of the I-10. It's accessible by road. It's a fairly large property package at 22 square kilometers, comprising of a mix of mineral patent state leases and BLM claims. It's a large porphyry system, classic porphyry model here with a central copper moly porphyry target here. Outboard, you get into carbonate replacement zones. This was the site of about 5 different historic mines that were outboard of the main porphyry target. And then as we move further outboard from that, we have a distal gold zone that we had previously tested with some RC drilling back in 2017 and 2018. In 2018, 2019, we completed a 300 line kilometer airborne Z10 survey. We resolved some additional targeting in this area of the property, and we're now in the process of permitting that work, and we'll be completing drilling on that work on that property in the fall of this year. A quick summary of the management team. It's an experienced group of mine finders with a history of success in Mexico. You'll see a number of people here that have been involved with the development of several world-class deposits like Peñasquito in Mexico, or Hemlo or Escape Creek in Canada, San Cristobal in Bolivia, Los Gatos in Mexico, San Nicolas in Mexico. So it's a group of people with a history of success in Mexico. They know what major projects look like. They know how to advance these projects and how to bring them to a production decision, either within the companies that they're operating with, or through sale of the project to a production company that will put this into production. So, and again, just a quick review of the capital markets. So we're trading up in that 50-55 cent range. This gives us a market capitalization well in excess of 100 million. We have $8.3 million sitting in the bank, some institutional holdings right now. Electrum remains a very strong supporter of us and is our major shareholder at this point. And so thank you very much. In summary, we've completed the deal with Electrum that gives us full control of our own destiny. We are one of the largest and highest grade undeveloped silver projects in the world, and we have a near-term exploration target expecting to grow the mineral resource by 30% to our next resource milestone of 350 million silver equivalent ounces. And again, we will be one of the largest silver-based, undeveloped silver-based projects in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob, Larry. Thank you all for sending your questions in. Please send more in. But we can start with this one. Rob, can you discuss the metallurgy? I have heard concerns about it might be difficult, expensive to get the silver out. Is it normal for the area in Mexico that are being mined today?
Well, I can assure you it does not appear to be difficult to get the silver out. These are fairly classic skarn systems, very basic metal, metal content. Effectively, we have galena, sphalerite, and chalcopyrite. These are very, very common base metals, relatively low deleterious metals associated with them. And what metals are additional deleterious elements are associated with them, they are effectively rejected in the metallurgical process. We've done lot cycle test work on the concentrates. We've been successfully able to identify 3 saleable concentrates, being a lead concentrate, a zinc concentrate, and a copper concentrate. We have identified over 80% recovery in the higher paying lead and copper concentrates. And we've identified an extremely high value of our lead concentrate. It's now has an NSR value of around $3,500 a ton at this point. And so again, that's exceptionally good. And so we're very, very happy with our metallurgy right now. I mean, of course, there can always be some tweaks to it to make it better, but in the broadest sense, these are fantastic results, and we're extremely happy with them.
Okay. I guess your financing is still open, but however you can answer this, did insiders, are they participating in this placement? Might this be the last raise until the PEA? Why a bought deal?
Oh, you might be on mute there, Larry.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Let me respond to that. We have a relationship with the Red Cloud folks who assisted us with a $14 million financing last June. They have been presenting us to various funds, and they approached us and said that there was quite an interest for a bought deal. And so we did the transaction last week to finance at 50 cents. We upsized the offering the following day. So between the bought deal and the $9 million for the bought deal and $3 million for the non-brokered placement, we'll soon have an additional $12 million in the treasury, bringing us to slightly better than $20 million for development money purposes. As far as insiders, I did not take part of that, but I exercised $300,000 on a stock option, so I increased my holdings. I'm fully invested to the extent that I can, and I intend to be there for the long haul.
Comments on institutional ownership and current percentage?
Rob, you've got that chart.
Yeah, currently we have around 7% of institutional holdings, and that was one of the objectives of this latest financing, was to increase that percentage, and utilizing the Red Cloud people to bring in institutional shareholders.
Of course. Thank you. Pass it over to our senior analyst in mining research at Amvest, Adam Brett. You have the floor.
Great, thanks. Hey, Rob, I apologize if we discussed this last time we talked, but considering all of the operations and major folks that are sitting around your property, what's the opportunity to send your ore to one of their mills? Considering at least for the sulfide, you guys are going to have to, crush, grind, and then, float 3 tons.
Yes, this, I guess here, let's, yeah. So this is where we're located, and it's just outside of Durango. This is the highway to Torreon. There is a smelter in Torreon. It's owned by Peñoles, although they tend to really only process their own material. In terms of the actual, in terms of the project, this is going to be when it's fully developed, a fairly large deposit. In terms of our preliminary work, just on the west side, we're looking at somewhere on the order of upwards of a 15-year mine life, looking at production rates in the 3,000 to 4,000 ton per day operations. So those are big operations, and we would of course have to have our own mill. It likely would not be feasible to be shipping 3,000 tons per day or 4,000 tons per day up and down the roads and highways. It makes much more sense to have your own mill. We're located a couple of 100 kilometers by road to the city of Manzanillo, down in on the west coast of Mexico. I've forgotten the state actually. And that is the major port facility for Trafigura, for example, and I believe other concentrate sellers. And so the likely scenario is to transport the concentrate south to Manzanillo and export it probably to smelter somewhere in the Pacific Rim. The other options would be to do some sort of deal with a Mexican producer and ship the concentrate within the bounds of Mexico to be produced by one or be smelted by one of the Mexican smelters. Or there might be, it might be one of each. There might be some concentrate gets shipped overseas. Maybe the higher value concentrate gets sold to a local smelter. And so these are things, we're just starting down that road, and that before we have a full scope of the project identified, it's really about as far as we can take it at this point.
Sorry about that, I got muted. For the southern skarn target where you've identified, where you've identified shallow oxide material that perhaps you can open pit or maybe you underground, mine oxide, is there a possibility for that material to either be processed on site or sent to a nearby processing facility?
I believe that there is that potential, and thank you for bringing that up. We know that Avino located, just 6 kilometers away from the edge, from the boundary of our claims. It's maybe about 20 kilometers away from the actual area of the Cerro. They do have oxide production facilities. And we also know that Golden Minerals up in Villardena, they also have oxide milling and production capacity. They were producing the Hecla ores. Hecla were doing a small open pit on their San Sebastian project, high value mineralization that they were direct shipping up to General Minerals project. It's only around 80 kilometers up this road. And it was being produced there. So this is one of the avenues. I mean, until we put together an oxide resource, we certainly won't know. But there may be some possibility to get some local processing, and again, that would be something within an overall mine scenario that would be a small percentage, but it might happen earlier and give you earlier cash flow, just to help you build the rest of the mine, and so there might be some certainly some advantage to that.
Rob, can you jump on that ore body? Get a couple of RC rigs to start punching in some shallow holes just to get to build an oxide resource.
Well, I mean, there's a possibility for that. We're very, very excited about that. When we drilled this hole 125, and that had 30 meters. This is estimated true thickness. These aren't downhole thicknesses. So when we had over 30 meters of just under 1 gram gold and just over 20 grams silver, that was good bulk mineable mineralization. Things tended to skinny down as we got to depth, but you do get higher grades of mineralization down there. So we wanted to put this together first and get a sense as to whether how expandable it is and what we would be chasing laterally. But there certainly is a possibility of getting some RC rigs, or at least an RC rig, on the project while we're putting together the polymetallic resource and seeing if we can drill that out and see how that looks in the long run. And so that is something we're considering, and that may be an exploration component that we would be doing in the late summer or fall of this year.
Are you concerned, Rob, if you switch to RC, you might lose a lot of the grade, in the fines?
I mean, it does tend to smear. RC does tend to smear, and that you can sometimes lose grade. This is strongly oxide, and I believe that for example, the gold mineralization, there's residual enrichment that the other sulfides have been weathered out, and so what's left are the very fine gold flakes. The silver is probably some oxide mineralization, but we do know that we get silver recovery because we did do some work on oxide mineralization on the other side of the Cerro. It was higher in silver. It didn't have any gold associated with that oxide mineralization. So we do have a good sense that we'll be able to get some decent recoveries. The question is how it all hangs together, and whether it's reasonable to do an open pit, or whether you actually even have to tackle that from underground, or what sort of mining scenario makes the most sense.
Rob, down at San Martin, at least in the, at least a couple of decades back, you used to get a significant amount of the silver in silver, sulfur salts and whatnot. Are you seeing any of that? And would that, cause any metallurgical issues or design issues you have to put together up front for your process flow sheet?
I mean, to date, that does not seem to be a major component to the mineralization. and in the work that we've done so far. And we've done petrological studies, we've done scans, SEM work, and so to date there seems to be maybe a small component of sulfur salts, but primarily the majority of the silver is hosted within the galena, or seems to be contained within the galena, and it's fairly easy to extract. Yeah, and that's to date. That's the work that we've done to date, and with the locked cycle test work that we've completed, primarily on the ores on the western side of the Cerro.
You know, at San Martin, everything is sort of all the ore is sort of you know, on the western side, and the eastern side stuff is super skinny, and so I'm just pleasantly surprised again that you guys are getting stuff, you know, on both sides of the stock.
Well, what happens here, and we believe that there's one or probably more structures that have you know, that effectively cut through the central intrusion. They were probably pre-existing, and that they allowed the actual intrusion to come up. And so you can see this little protrusion comes out here. If you look at this in 3D, this forms a little spine that runs right down this way. And then when you get over onto this side, very similarly, there seems to be a bit of a spine that runs along here. So the sense is that there's a structure that was running through here. As the intrusion came up, it burped out laterally along the structure, and that seems to have formed a dynamic, whether it be a certain geometry or whether it's the nature of the fluids that were released as the intrusions started moving along these structures. I don't know, but it does seem to form a dynamic where we get thicker clusters of higher grade mineralization in these areas associated with these cross structures. And so again, we are getting some decent mineralization here, but it does tend to be a bit thinner and scrappier. Some of the thicker zones of mineralization seem to be occurring here. So again, we're very happy that that we've been able to piece, you know, put this together and systematically, at least as a concept right now. I mean, I'm sure it will happen, but grow the resource with continued with our continued drilling.
I don't know. I can't remember, Rob, if you and I discussed this before, but you know, at San Martin there are multiple phases of the intrusion, and some of those phases are, you know, associated with different alteration types, and certainly different. And you know, there's a late phase quartzite porphyry that, you know, is associated generally with the late stage gold and howlite. You know, have you guys, you know, taken a look and see if you can identify, you know, different stages of intrusion and, you know, an associated alteration?
I think we know that there are some different stages to the intrusion, but we haven't looked into it in any great detail. We do know that there are different stages of the mineralization. We certainly know over on the eastern side that there seems to be a lot more gold mineralization associated with the mineralization. This almost seems to be maybe a little bit of a later phase of mineralization, maybe similar to the blind and the El Sol zone mineralization, which seems to be more spatially associated with felsight dikes. And so broadly, it does seem like we have at least two phases of mineralization, probably I would even suggest three phases of mineralization with the there. How uniquely they're associated to various phases of the intrusion, other than noting that we have felsites that can be spatially associated with mineralization locally. I can't take it that much further than that.
And you know, the gold that the gold that you guys have tested for, you know, where is that coming out as far as your early test work in the cons?
The gold seems to the gold is seems to be associated with elevated arsenic, and so at this point it seems to be in, and there was very little gold in the western side, and so we hadn't looked in great detail at gold at doing much with the arsenic, and there's higher arsenic in the in the Blind and the El Sol zones, and higher arsenic locally in the Las Victorias zone. And our focus at that point was effectively rejecting the arsenic so that it wasn't going to contaminate our concentrates. And we've been successful in that. We have, you know, now unfortunately that means that.
Rob, were you successful in depressing it, or were you successful in setting up its own float? Because if you floated it separately, you know, you can make it, you know, your own arsenic con, which would clean up your following cons, and you might be able to send that arsenic cons to recover gold.
We have considered that. Effectively, we reject the arsenic right now. And so we have looked at a potential arsenic gold con. The sense that we have, based on the current arsenic market, is that our overall gold grade tends to be a little bit low, and that you need to have, oh gosh, what is it? You need about 20. You need your arsenic con to be around like 20 grams gold or something along those lines to be able to sell it. And we don't have the head grade on the western side. As we develop the resources over here, and we do get an uptick in gold mineralization, there may be some components of the arsenic concentrates that will have enough grade to sell. And we have to be a little bit more selective. So in that regard, there's more work to be done. Now that might fall more into like more feasibility work as opposed to PEA work. But we just have to see what the results are, and are we able to identify enough areas with multiple gram gold mineralization associated in enough of an accumulation that you can make it worthwhile to float an arsenic con that you can sell. And so that's, you know, one of the questions that's still out there in terms of the metallurgy.
For those in the audience, the San Martin mine, which is a very much a lookalike to this mine, it's run by Grupo Mexico, south of Cerro Las Minitas, has been running on and off since 1500, the year 1500, and very much looks like this. And they process that at about 3,000 tons a day. And like I said, it's been going since the year 1500.
Yeah, that's clearly one of the analogs that we look to in terms of the you know, the ultimate potential of the project. I mean, I think now they have this up to what, 60 to 100 million tons. I don't know if we'll get there. Maybe somebody else, when they're mining it 10, 20 years from now, will have developed that. But I think in terms of the style of the mineralization, the capacity to develop a large tonnage mine, and to have it long lived so that you can write 20-year smelter contracts. That's the objective that we have with this project, and so we look towards San Martin as a potential analog.
Yeah, yeah. And as you get deeper in San Martin, it just gets more copper rich.
Yes, in the here, and again, Down in here, and this is our copper deep area, and this is 1.1 kilometers below surface. We had 15 meters of 2% copper with 200 and I'd like to say 268 grams per ton silver. And it's only a single hole down in here. The issue though is that if you're trying to build this into measured and indicated, just the amount of drilling they'd have to do down at that depth, and so we have to make some decisions on that as we move forward as to continue to explore and to develop at that depth. Right now, we're drilling within 500 meters of surface, and that's the focus right now, to find the shallow mineralization that optimizes our mining plan so we can get high-grade mineralization to the mill first.
I think it's also just important so the audience recognizes that major mining companies, they want to see something that's got, or in their mind, they want to know it's got that long-term potential. Anyway, I've monopolized your time. If Ernie is still on, I'm sure he has a few questions.
Actually, we need to close. We'll keep this under exactly an hour for everybody. But if you do have more questions, email, send call Southern Silver, and the conversation does not have to stop here in any case. With that, a very short closing, a very short close, and we'll pick it up again next month. Larry?
Thanks very much, everybody, for devoting an hour to listen to this. I learned a little bit with the dialogue there on metallurgy, etc. This is quite a fascinating project. We're going to create value for the shareholders, and we'll keep going until there's a very happy success here. So thanks for listening to us. Stay involved. We're just at the end of the phone, and we're happy to respond to any questions you may have. So I'd also like to thank Amvest Capital and Campbell and his crew for putting on a very professional presentation.
Appreciate that. And we had a nice conversation today. And on your way out, please share your feedback. That would be the best way you could show your appreciation, is to tell us what you thought of the event and the company, and anything that's on your mind. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you all.